name is Chris Evan, and I'm the CEO of Survival Dispatch. I was a member of our national powerlifting team for many years and won many state, national, and world championships. Even though I'm in great shape for being 55 years old, I am not immune to father time. Most of us feel weaker and make more trips to the bathroom as we get older. U.S. Army research has led to a breakthrough for the #1 water for older Americans. It's not a special sports drink, but a mix with essential nutrients most hydration drinks lack. Keyword, hydration. These nutrients are proven to enhance muscle strength, reduce soreness, and improve bladder health. A Texas doctor leveraged this research and formulated a drink mix to help you stay strong. Click the link below for up to 44% off at nativehydrate.com/dispatch, plus free shipping and a free gift. This is one of the best deals I've seen for high-quality BCAA drink mixes. And we're back after a brutally late night last night. We've got a few guests backstage right now. Good to see y'all. We set all kinds of records last night for Survival Dispatch News as far as being live is concerned. Overall, somewhere around 30,000 views between all the different platforms that we were broadcasting it to. So tonight's episode is not going to be quite as organized as usual. Got some funny stuff off of X and other places on the internet that we're going to share with y'all. I want to mention a couple quick things. I won't spend too much time on this, but I was asked by these guys, Advantage Gold, to put together a top five preps to do between now and Donald Trump getting inaugurated, with the assumption that we're probably going to see some civil unrest, potentially some terrorist acts, those sort of things. The link's in the description down below. If you go sign up for this, whether you attend or not, there's a small stipend that comes back to Survival Dispatch. There's limited number of seats. I'm going to be covering some stuff in this webinar that I won't be covering any other time. So if y'all could support us, click the link, sign up for it. Would greatly appreciate that. Want to add that our Patreon, patreon.com/survival dispatch. This is what it looks like. I haven't had a chance to show it to y'all recently. 50% of the content, all the free members get access to that. The paying members, $9.99 a month, you get 100% of it. Probably the biggest hit from our Patreon, which was very unintended, is we have a Signal chat, so encrypted Signal messaging, and it's taken off, and we got a ton of people in there. And that's it for the boilerplate stuff. So let me bring all the guys on the stage here. We've got my good buddy Bruce the Moose. We got Justin Moon from Car Arms. And he just reminded me as well that Desert Eagle and Tommy Gun are both his brands as well. And I see we got Pastor Sean Moon back there. He's having some internet issues. Sean, how you doing?
Yes, sir. Can you guys hear?
Absolutely.
All right. Praise God. Praise God.
That's fantastic. So tonight's going to be a little bit not unorganized, but not as strict a format as we usually follow. And I had a couple videos pulled up that were really high energy Donald Trump stuff. And your brother and I were talking. I subscribed to your YouTube channel a couple days ago, and I listened to all the songs on there, and you're Too Big to Rig. That's an awesome song. So I'm going to play just the beginning of it for our audience out there so they can check it out. But
Thank you.
I want to play it for two reasons. It's a great song and I love it. Actually, three reasons. Great job on contributing towards Donald Trump being too big to rig. Everybody who put the word out was part of this, effort. And then the next part is, I love your truck, man. I asked Justin if that was yours or his. So I'm a country hick, man. I love trucks. So, my truck is a 1982 Chevy K20 with 16 inches of lift and 40-inch mutters on it. So, like, just a high-tech redneck.
Nice.
All right, let's play a little bit of the beginning of your song, Too Big to Rig.
This is Dollar Bill you scream too big to reach. When I punch you, scream too big to reach. When I punch you, scream too big to reach. When I punch you, scream too big to reach. Cold brand, too big to reach. Cold brand, too big to reach. Mega red, too big to reach. 2024, too big to reach. Brother, listen, white powder, too big to reach. Bada brain in the child, too big to reach. Better say it out loud, too big to reach. Mega 2024, too big to reach. It's cold.
Man, I love it. Awesome song, Sean. Well done. I was looking at some of the people on the sidewalk
Thank you, brother.
when you had had somebody with the Donald Trump mask on. A couple of them looked like they looked at you sideways. You know,
Yeah.
Did you get a bit of a reaction when you're out there with the Donald Trump mask on?
Yeah, that was in Gatlinburg, like Tennessee.
Yeah,
and folks were having a good time. There was a lot of, people were very, very supportive.
awesome. We're actually just south of y'all there. We've got a home in North Georgia, 10 minutes from the Tennessee state line, and
Oh, okay.
a little bit southwest of Gatlinburg, but great part of the country for sure. The sooner we get out of Florida and get there full time, the better. We get too many people here in Florida now. We become victims of our own success. So I got a couple other videos I want to play because they were high energy Donald Trump videos. And this video, therefore, will instantly get smoked for a copyright infringement. But it's a couple good videos and I want to share them. And I don't really care if YouTube gives us a slap on the wrist for it. This first one was shared by Elon. So I love Elon Musk.
Put on notice, if you fuck around with us, if you do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. 2024 is our final battle. They stole our jobs and they plundered our wealth. The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots.
The activation word, Ronald McDonald.
We will drive out the globalists.
All patriots go.
We will cast out the communists. America will start winning again, winning like never before. We will bring back our jobs. We will bring back our borders. And we will bring back our dreams.
All right. So super high energy. Of course, I born in 69, grew up in the 70s and 80s, huge Van Halen fan back in the day. But also, it's funny, I didn't even think of it. I forgot that I had this next video queued up when I said, essentially a redneck born and raised in the country. Bruce is probably with me on this every single Friday night at 7 p.m. when I was growing up on, we had 3 TV channels because we lived in the middle of nowhere, was the Dukes of Hazzard. So somebody did a spoof video on Trump and Vance on the Dukes of Hazzard. So this will get us another copyright infringement because, of course, we've got Waylon Jennings playing here. But
hey, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Before you go to the next one, I'm just curious what people think about Elon Musk sharing a video with Q in it.
I got to tell you, Bruce, I'm impressed that you picked up on that when I showed that to you earlier, just like that.
It's got Patriots come up at the bottom, and then the O fades to a Q, and then the Q stands by itself. And
so as I mentioned,
is Elon part of the Q movement?
I don't know, but now that we're on this topic, I will say this much. General Vallely is a friend of ours, and so he was the first Spec Ops soldier who ended up going all the way to becoming a general. He was the first commander of SOCOM, and very illustrious career. He was also one of the original soldiers in Q back in the day. Did 3 tours of duty in Vietnam. I mean, anybody who thinks Q doesn't know their history.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me pull up this spoof video on the Dukes of Hazzard. Badass. Then we'll turn things a little bit more serious.
Now radio.
Just a good old boy, never meaning no harm. Beats all you never saw. Been in trouble with the law since the day they was born. Straightening the curve, flattening the hill. Someday the mountain might get 'em, but the law never will. Making their way the only way they know how. That's just a little bit more than the law will allow. Just a good old boy, wouldn't change if they could. Fighting the system like a true modern day Robin Hood.
All right, whoever did that did a fantastic job. I don't know if y'all grew up.
Well,
at all.
you got me aged. I grew up with that, 1970.
You
Yeah.
got it. You got it.
Awesome. They picked the right people for the right characters in that video as well. I love how they've got Biden as Roscoe P. Coltrane.
Good,
So,
good to see Rush Limbaugh again.
Yeah, no kidding.
Big loss for this country.
Absolutely huge loss for sure. So I'm going to go to Justin first. Give me your thoughts last night as the results were coming in. Did you expect that we would get a decision last night, or did you think we were going to be into this, weeks and weeks of BS?
Well, the Dems are planning to do every type of election fraud they knew how, but since the 2020 election, patriots in Pennsylvania, us included, we started working on that election integrity issue, and in our community, we had a whole group of people who are quite active in that whole election integrity effort. Helping with getting people registered, helping with people file lawsuits, and so we did a lot of work to try to make it more difficult for the blue team to steal this election, and we didn't get everything that we wanted in Pennsylvania, but we certainly made it harder to cheat than it was in 2020.
I got worried when I think it was just past midnight. There were some box trucks that showed up in downtown Philly that had loads of ballots, and I thought, oh my God, here we go again. But I guess in Philly in the morning, before 7 a.m., there were some Republican poll watchers that went to go to a couple precincts, and they were turned away. And they called the 800 number for True the Vote, and they had attorneys dispatched like that. And by 7 a.m., they were on prem and inside. So when that happened, I was thinking to myself, there's no way that you could react fast enough to all that stuff if you didn't have SOPs defined and people queued up and ready to go. And as we saw last time around, it doesn't do much good to put a complaint in that doesn't get in front of a judge or a court for months because too late then. So, but PA was awesome. We've got some stuff queued up for Scott Pressler. I personally believe that Scott Pressler probably as an individual played one of the biggest roles in winning this election for us because of the work he did in PA. It's absolutely phenomenal. The guy's
Scott was was a giant. He moved mountains, but there was a whole nameless faces, people you don't see behind the scenes, really plugging away at it all throughout the state. So God bless them all.
Absolutely.
Chris, last night we talked about Lara Trump and her team. How many lawyers does she have on? Is it 340? It was a huge number.
Yeah, I've heard a couple different numbers. Maybe Justin or Sean know better than me. The biggest number I saw said 500. And then originally they said they had 100,000 poll watchers trained. Then I saw 200,000 thrown out there. And then I saw 250,000 thrown out there. So I don't know what the real number is, but it clearly had a massive positive impact.
Big impact.
My biggest question from what happened last night, where are the 15 million votes that are the difference between what Kamala got and Joe Biden supposedly got? Where'd they go?
Exactly.
I think they all came from China. And
You nailed it.
Well, it's no secret. So I can say this on our channel. There was, a lot of consternation over it. There was a CIA asset, former CIA asset by the name of Dennis Montgomery. And we have a bunch of mutual friends. And actually, one of his guys, Jeff O'Donnell, spent 2 years writing a piece of software to pull real-time data off of Edison, which is where all the precincts report stuff in real time. So we were getting results last night at the same time as, say, Fox News, New York Times, that sort of thing. And we were reporting stuff about 45 minutes to an hour earlier than everybody else, because the only people who had access to that were us and Todd Callender. But Dennis Montgomery, when he was a CIA asset, wrote a piece of software, and y'all might be familiar with it, called Hammer and Scorecard. And the CIA used that software for many years to influence and skew elections around the world, to install basically whoever they wanted to be installed. Well, the CIA used it in 2020 to steal the election domestically, and it absolutely pissed Dennis off to no end. And there's still stuff ongoing that's related to that, but I can't get too deep into details, but I can tell you that there were actions taken to prevent Hammer and Scorecard from being used again last night. And that's
a good thing.
8 million votes were from, I believe. But
because remember when Reagan got elected, the returns were determined like by 10 o'clock that night, and it was paper ballots.
That's right.
We had fairer and quicker elections when it was done by paper, not all this computer jazz, which is so hackable.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my personal opinion is voter ID, but it has to be the new smart IDs. We've had them for about 15 years in Florida, actually, that have like a gold star on it. So your citizenship has been verified. So not just ID, but ID that proves you're a citizen. Paper ballots, same day results. I mean, we were the biggest joke in the country 20 years ago. We couldn't, conduct an election to save our life. And now we set the standard. And it's got nothing to do with me, but I mean, overall.
I mean, if you use paper ballots, put your name on it, and then, had that serial number, then there's no way to do election fraud. Zero.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah. But again, it's all engineered for cheating, essentially, right? Did you guys see the map that showed the states that were called for Kamala and the states where no voter ID is required? Every single state that was called for her has no voter ID requirements, but the states for Trump had voter ID. I mean, that's kind of hits home. Sean, I want to get to your general impression last night. I mean, did you think we were going to get results the same night, or did you think we were going to get drug into this endless back and forth?
Oh my goodness. Yes. Chris, Bruce, good to see you. Sorry, my grandchildren are running around the house with my daughter here. Yeah, oh my gosh. I just want to thank everybody from Survival Dispatch and all the folks I was watching and went out to support the president. Your vote, the sanctity of your vote, was absolutely essential in securing this win. And of course, we thought it was going to be extended, and they were saying there's going to be delays, and it's going to go for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And of course, they're going to be cheating like insane. So we were all on our knees praying and just, seeing what God does. But God showed up again, just like he saved President Trump and Butler. He showed up again on election night, and it was everybody participating, everybody being his hands and feet on the earth, everybody standing up against evil. Like the Bible says, resist the devil, he will flee. It doesn't say comply. It doesn't say comply. It says resist the devil, and he will flee. And so that's what we did as Americans, patriots. And everybody showed up. Everybody stood in line. Everybody held the line. Everybody did not get out of line. Everybody, went in and circled that box. And we secured the win for the glory of God. And he's given us one more chance as America. So I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank you, Chris, and Bruce, of course, my brother. We were just shouting like maniacs yesterday, just going insane because, our family fled communism, and we don't want that crap, if you know what I mean. But we just want to thank every single patriot that went out and secured this win. And it is a big win, and we can change the world with it. So thank you all so much. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Well, I think, no joke, your song and your truck too big to rig. That's what we were all working towards, right? We started preaching many months ago when you go to the polls, take somebody with you who doesn't normally vote. And that started with our friend, Jason Wilson that y'all met. And we made it too big to rig. And if that effort hadn't have been, that strategy hadn't been in place, hard to say, what would have happened. But Bruce, you were with us. You hung in till pretty late last night. The rest of us shut it down just past 3 a.m. I did not get a chance to ask you that question last night, though, as far as, did you think we were going to get same, results the same night, or did you think we were going to get drug into this endless counting baloney?
Yeah, I pretty much figured that it would be drawn out, days and days and days. At least 10 days is what I heard, from several different podcasters that we follow. And I guess, again, circling back to Laura Trump, I mean, what she did, what Scott Pressler did, I could sit here and name off podcaster Charlie Kirk. I mean, there's so many people out there that were doing exactly what Sean just said, Pastor Moon. People were praying, people were begging God for help, and just powerful. But I pretty much figured that we'd be sitting here today, cussing, talking about, here we go again. But yeah, praise the Lord that here we are.
Yeah, I like Justin's comment, though, that there was clearly a ton of people, that nobody's aware of their names or their efforts or anything. So we have a mutual friend that I do want to mention. His name's Ken Nuss. The guy is absolutely tireless. He has a full-time job, and yet he finds the time and the energy to fly across the country. He has been working his ass off this election cycle, and he's one of those unsung heroes. Did y'all get the video from him from when the last night where just before Trump did his speech, and he's got doing a selfie all the way around the room? I mean, I'm really, really glad that Ken got to be there for that. He's an amazing individual, and I got to give him props for that. So the next video that I have pulled up is CNN, and I was shocked when I saw this video today at how brutally honest this guy was. And I was kind of waiting for the rest of the panel to jump on this guy, and they didn't. It's probably the most honest piece of reporting, excuse me, that I've seen on CNN in many, many years. It's a couple minutes long, but I'm going to play the whole thing because he pretty much hits the nail on the head here.
This is a mandate. He's won the national popular vote for the first time for a Republican for the first time since 2004. This is a big deal. This isn't backing into the office. This is a mandate to do what you said you were going to do. Get the economy working again for regular working class Americans, fix immigration, try to get crime under control, try to reduce the chaos in the world. This is a mandate from the American people to do that. I think I'm interpreting the results tonight as the revenge of just the regular old working class American, the anonymous American who has been crushed, insulted, condescended to. They're not garbage. They're not Nazis. They're just regular people who get up and go to work every day and are trying to make a better life for their kids. And they feel like they have been told to just shut up when they have complained about the things that are hurting them in their own lives. I also feel like this election, as we sit here and pour over this tonight, is something of an indictment of the political information complex. I mean, we've been sitting around here for the last couple of weeks, and the story that was portrayed was not true. I mean, we were told Puerto Rico was going to change the election. Liz Cheney, Nikki Haley voters, women lying to their husbands. Before that, it was Tim Walz and the camo hats. Night after night after night, we were told all these things and gimmicks were going to somehow push Harris over the line. And we were just ignoring the fundamentals. Inflation, people feeling like that they were barely able to tread water at best. That was the fundamentals of the election. And so I think that both parties should always look at the results of an election and figure out what went right and what went wrong. But I think for all of us who cover elections and talk about elections and do this on a day-to-day basis, we have to figure out how to understand, talk to, and listen to the half of the country that rose up tonight and said, we've had enough.
Did y'all catch that today, or is that the first time you saw it?
Today was the first time I saw it.
Well, yeah, go ahead, Justin.
He definitely spoke truth to power. So a lot of Americans are fed up with the way our government's organized. I mean, income taxes hit the middle class really hard. And basically, when we got rid of all the tariffs, it wiped out our manufacturing industries. And so, and the only people who benefit from getting rid of all the tariffs are the multinational corporations. They go untaxed. So with Trump replacing income taxes with tariffs, that's going to, put the tax burden on the trillionaires. And that's where it should be.
Yeah, agreed. Sean, what were your thoughts of that report on CNN?
Oh, that was beautiful, bro. I had actually seen that in the morning, but he did a great job just putting those folks in place, and you could see they're just silent. They were shocked. I think they were still in shock that they couldn't steal it and cheat like the lying apparatus that they work for does. Golly.
Yeah, I was really surprised that none of them pushed back harder. What did you think, Bruce?
Well, all I could think about when I saw it was what Elon put out. It was either today or last night where he put out a tweet about we are the news now, and he's talking to all of us. And then General Flynn right behind him put out one, talking about digital soldiers again. And people think that's a joke. I mean, when you learn how to use this, when you turn this tool against the deep state, the cabal, the people that are lying to us every day, the machine. Once we learn how to use that, that's where they failed. They should have never handed that to us.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Just a quick anecdotal reference that relates to last night. I've referred to myself for many years, of being like the Forrest Gump of the high-tech business world. Never the smartest guy in the room, always blessed to be invited to these incredible experiences. About 4 or 5 months ago, I surpassed 22,000 contacts in my address book. These are all individuals that I've worked with over the years. And we had this thing at Sun Microsystems called the Partner Advisory Council. And once you got elected, there was only 12. It was supposed to be one tenure, like 1 year, and then give somebody else a chance. And I got voted onto it 3 years in a row. Again, just kind of Forrest Gump thing. And we had this annual thing for our dealers in Keystone, Colorado, which is part of Vail. And when you get on the gondola, it takes an hour to get up to the very top where there's a super fancy restaurant. And I think it's about 14,000 foot above sea level. And we always had really high-end speakers. And the keynote speech on the last day was delivered by Frank Abagnale. Frank Abagnale to this day is considered the most brilliant man when it comes to fraud, especially, bank fraud. He's the guy who was in the movie Catch Me If You Can that was portrayed by Leonardo DiCaprio, and Tom Hanks was chasing him, right? Writing the fake checks and all that sort of thing. A fascinating individual. And he got out of jail pretty quickly because he agreed to go work for the FBI on fraud stuff, right? So everybody always wanted to be part of these dinners that we had as this Partner Advisory Council. So there were 12 of us, Frank Abagnale, and there was room for half a dozen other people. And so we go up to this gondola ride. We're at the top, and one of my buddies is sitting beside me. Says, Frank, do you mind if I ask, like, how did you get away with convincing people that you were a doctor when you never went to school to be a doctor, that you were an attorney and became an assistant DA in New Orleans? And Frank says, oh, that's easy. He says, stand up. So they're standing a few feet away from each other, and he says, put your hands up like this. And so Frank puts his hands up against Eddie's hands, and out of nowhere, he gives him a quick shove like that. And Eddie kind of takes a step back, gets his balance, comes back around, and he sticks his hand out. And Eddie walks forward to him to shake his hand. He said, I'd like to thank you for participating in this experiment. And they sat down, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, man, there's an old adage that says it's better to be thought of, as a bumpkin than to open your mouth and remove all doubt, sort of thing, right? So I'm thinking, I don't know what the heck I just missed, but I'm not going to be the guy who asks because clearly I missed something. So finally somebody else says, Mr. Abagnale, what did we miss here? And he said, well, it's easy to get people to do what you want. He said, when I had Mr. Becker put his hands up like this and I pushed him, what happened? Well, he pushed back, and he said, that's human nature. If you push people, they will eventually push back. When you want somebody to do something, you gently pull them in your direction. And it was just a really interesting exchange to hear from him. And it's one of those things that left a mark on me. And how I relate that to what happened in the election yesterday is we've been pushed around for too many years, patriotic Americans, and we're told that we're, racist bad guys because we support America. And all this stuff, this nonsense. And we pushed back yesterday is essentially what I'm getting at, short story long, long story long, whatever. But it is human nature. If you push people, they're going to push back eventually. So, and thank God that we pushed back, and thank God we got the House and the Senate as well, so that we can actually get some meaningful reform in place that doesn't get, disappear with the stroke of a pen. So the links that I've got, I'm sorry, y'all, didn't get the brief to you. Bruce has got it. It's kind of a combination of serious stuff from last night and funny stuff. So the next one is some funny stuff. And it's 4 minutes long. I probably won't play the whole thing, but I'll play enough so that everybody gets a laugh out of it.
I hate you, you fucking orange pumpkin. You're just constantly one of the most important people in my life. My dad. Donald Trump, I hate you. You will never be president again.
They don't get that they voted for someone who's gonna make my friends' lives hell. My life's okay. I'm a white woman, but my friends are not gonna be okay.
I can't believe Trump's actually gonna win this fucking thing. Oh, Jesus Christ, I'm so pissed off. Fuck! God damn it! I can't believe Trump's actually gonna win this fucking thing. Oh, Jesus.
Yo, I'm scared to go to sleep. I might wake up a motherfucking slave. Y'all, like, why are y'all trying?
All right, so I'm going to play a short video from the other side of the equation, then we can discuss it.
Donald Trump has won, and honestly, I would usually say be humble, but fuck that shit. We've been called garbage, we've been called fascist, we've been called racist, we've literally been called subhuman pieces of shit, and it's fucking done. He won the popular vote, he won the Electoral College, we won the Senate, we won the House, and that big fucking red mirage everybody was talking about, turns out it was a fucking wave. With all the extra money I'm going to have under a Trump administration, I think I'm going to go buy a kayak so I can go up this fucking river of liberal tears. There are straight up women that are filing for divorce from their husbands this morning, that are leaving their boyfriends over this fucking election. That's derangement. I saw another video of a lady saying, oh, what do I do now? What do I do now? You guys have been scaring me about Project 2025 for the last year. No, nobody's been scaring you. You've been brainwashed. Today, ladies and gentlemen, is a good fucking day. It is a good fucking day, and I feel good. I know there's a lot of people that don't feel good, but honestly, fuck them. And now that we're going to have 4.
All right, so Justin, I'll go to you first. I mean, there's some comedic elements there.
Well, when you talk about the silly ladies who are crying, especially on the liberal side, you got to look at the Constitution and you got to say to yourself, man, the founding fathers had something there when they didn't let them vote. Maybe we made a mistake by
Oh, that's too funny. So I have a question for all three of you. He's right. You have a significant portion of our populace has been brainwashed, and I tell people I'm a libertarian, but I always make sure I specify not capital L, because those guys are loony, lowercase l. My philosophy for many, many years is you should be able to do whatever you want. If it doesn't hurt nobody else, who am I to tell you otherwise? But that strategy in the long term hasn't worked so well because we've seen this infiltration of all these just insane ideas. So as a libertarian, it pains me to say that I feel like we need legislation, but I really do. Like I'm really concerned that if we're going to make meaningful reforms, that it's not just laws, it's also regulations for the mainstream media. They tell one lie after another that's easily disproved. And then we get this type of reaction. I mean, the young women that are on SSRIs, the percentage is insane. I've seen it anywhere, from 50 to 60%. I don't know what the actual number is, but what I do know is that, we had laws in the past with regards to what the media could and could not publish. And Obama gutted the Smith-Mundt Act, in 2012, that basically said government agencies could unleash propaganda against Americans domestically with no disclosure. And prior to that, if a government agency, had put together this information packet of propaganda and handed it to somebody, it had to be disclosed. And that's no longer the case. So here's my question, Justin. Now everybody can take a crack at it. What do we do about the mainstream media publishing these incendiary threats against Donald Trump and others that they don't like, publishing untruthful, false stuff that puts people into a bad condition? I mean, I don't know what the number is. Again, I forgot what it was, but there's a lot of young people who are either committing suicide or have suicidal tendencies over this stuff. It's a crime what the mainstream media has done. And if you all have any other ideas on how to deal with it, I'd love to hear it. Go ahead, Justin.
I mean, I don't mind what the mainstream media do or say. What I do mind is that they don't let us say the same thing. If we had parity and we could do and say as the mainstream media does and says without getting banned from social media and all that crap and censored, I think that's a fair, a level playing field. And we can fight on that level playing field and we can win every day. So I say let's just open it up. Don't have any rules and regulations. As long as you're not dropping F-bombs every 2 seconds, you should be able to express whatever ideas you want, regardless of what people think. If you don't like women voting, make an argument why women shouldn't vote.
Yep, fair enough. Sean, what are your thoughts on the propaganda machine?
Well, it's so sad, to see those young ladies just going nuts like that. It's really like, they've really been psyop. They've really been brainwashed, this delusional Trump derangement syndrome state. And it's like, they will believe everything that the media says. And there's so much cognitive dissonance. There's nothing you can say to them to actually break them out of that in their mental state current now. And there's statistics that show that over 60% of quote Democrats are actually clinically mentally, they're clinically mentally ill. So it seems to be the tendency, I think, from a spiritual perspective, definitely the people who want to centralize power and want to kill children and destroy the family and put all sorts of LGBT licentiousness upon the kids and hypersexualize them and mutilate them, etc. This is obviously from a spiritual perspective, we see it as, political Satanism. My father always said communism and centralized government is equal political Satanism. So it is an actual Satan's hands and feet on the earth. It is the 666 beast system. And it allows for actual Satanism to thrive, which we have seen with the Diddy rings and the Epstein ring, etc. And this is really what's so shocking, that I think that people are now awakened to this fact that our government is not this, once we believed it was legitimate and that we voted for it, and then it's things like this. We really didn't want to believe that this is a criminal cabal at the highest degree. I mean, you're talking about sex trafficking, not only drugs, but children and all these blackmail operations involved. P. Diddy now with 8 different cases against him involving children and 9 years old. So we're talking about serious satanic pedophilia, which is at the core of this. And our buddy Craig Sawyer, who's a Navy SEAL, he runs Veteran Child Rescue. He talks about, he should definitely be on this program, brother. We should get him on the program.
Yes, we've done a few episodes with Craig.
Oh, great. And of course, he talks about the satanic ritualistic abuse that they do, the elites and the elite circles do. They dress up as Jesus, and then they rape the child in order to traumatize that child's relationship with Jesus. And so this is it's a ritualistic Satanism, which is weaponized, just like we see in Genesis chapter 3, to destroy the innocence of the youth and really control the people. And it's really, it is the principalities and powers and the rulers of the darkness of the world, spiritual wickedness in high places that Ephesians talk about. It's real. I mean, we are really fighting that entire system. It is run by hands and feet, so they're actually flesh and blood people that are running it, like Satan's hands and feet. But there's a force behind it, which is pure evil, and I think we got to see that, and we saw pure good in the face of God showing up and delivering that victory. But I think we got so close to the edge and the abyss, like we were on the brink of civil war / World War III. If Kamala got in, we would be in serious worldwide calamity. So I just praise God. God has shown up, given us one more chance. We repent of our sins, and we want to cling on to Him, and we want to turn this around and get back to the right place. And definitely, what the left is proposing, they were calling all of us, right? They were calling, me and Justin, we're white supremacists because we support President Trump. We're literally North Korean. You understand? We got free from communism. Okay, you know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy. They've been calling everybody who supported President Trump, literally calling the man Hitler, one of the worst mass murderers in the modern period. And they put us on domestic terrorist lists. And then they're surprised when people try to kill him, assassinate, blow his head off, and, attack MAGA preachers for doing nothing, grandmas walking in and out of events and stuff like this. It's shocking, but the propaganda machine is so powerful, but they were defeated, by the patriots, like Bruce was saying, with the phone, and everybody was just activated on the ground, reporting to Project Veritas and reporting to Laura Trump and the organizations that they had set up to immediately get lawsuits on the ground and get them won in a day. That was unprecedented, incredible. And being able to do the early vote early, giving us time to win those legal debates and create standing just in case they did steal it. So it was such a multifaceted operation. But I just praise the Lord, everybody in the hands and feet of God's people, and just everybody who is trying to protect God's gift of freedom. I just want to thank God so much, and all the people, the unnamed faces, like Justin was saying. Everybody showed up. Everybody stood strong. Everybody held their line. And we got this win. We got to keep the prayers alive till Inauguration Day. So please keep your prayers up. Praise God.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's job number one now, is to keep Trump safe so that he can get inaugurated. Before I go to you, Bruce, just one quick comment, Sean, is, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, my wife said to me, somebody had made a comment and said, I can't believe, like God let this happen to me. And my wife said to them, well, you do realize there's this eternal battle between good and evil. And so Satan is always working and doing things like this, but nobody ever says that. People are always like, well, I can't believe God would let this happen to me. And I wouldn't say nobody, but not enough people, verbalize it like you did. And I don't know if it's just victim mentality or what, but the eternal battle between good and evil. Bruce, mainstream media, what do we do with these guys?
Well, I think a lot of this is already in the works. You brought up the Smith Modernization Act of 2012. First day in office, Trump needs to remove that. It needs to be done. I think he's already got a lawsuit against CNN. I don't know if that's going forward or not. What's interesting to me, though, and we talk about this on our podcast, the Sting, is Trump bought DWAC, Digital World Acquisition Corp. I'm still sold on that company being the reason he bought it is because he's gonna sue the pants off of these people, and he's probably gonna pull their FCC license, because I'm pretty sure that he can prove treasonous events. The whole election, what's he say every day? Election interference, right? I mean, these people, by not telling the truth, are causing election interference, right? So I'm no expert on what an FCC license looks like or what it says, but I would be willing to bet that they have violated that license left, right, up, down, south, north, all over the place. Another piece of that, I think, is Trump's executive orders 13818 and 13848. I believe those are still active. I haven't looked in about 2 months, but I believe they're both active. And I believe when he gets back in office that he's going to prove to the world what these people have been doing. Like Sean Moon said, what brought me and Chuck together on the podcast was one word: adrenochrome.
Yeah.
You know, when you research adrenochrome and you understand that that's really going on in this world,
yeah,
and what it creates on those kids, panda eyes. Go look up what panda eyes means. You can punch it right in Twitter and hit enter, and go find out what that means, what adrenochrome means. And you know, they're hiding all this stuff from us, and the media is responsible. They're responsible for hiding it. The last part of that, you know, the Mockingbird experiment is something that's been around forever, and supposedly they got rid of it. Right? It was one of the CIA things that had. I wish your buddy Jeff was on here, but basically what it is if I tell Chris Heaven, you know, he's a beefed up guy, right? He's strong. But if I all day I tell Chris Heaven, you know, you're a little skinny runt, you know, you suck, blah, blah, blah. I just, you know, just keep hammering him with negative words all the time. I believe the number is 7 to 10 days. Chris starts having issues and starts thinking that he's a weak person, you know, and that's what the Mockingbird experiment, Russia. How long did we hear that crap? We still hear it, right? It's always Russia did this, Russia did that. And we're finding out, no, it's not. It's CIA, FBI, you know, what all these other frickin' 3-letter agencies. I mean, there's a house cleaning coming. General Flynn put out a great post today about it's just the beginning, and we got to get ready. We're on the beach. I think he said we're on the Normandy beach right now and getting ready to have to move forward. And we just won one. We just won one battle. There's many more to come.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. I just want to address this false comment here. Remember, Trump was besties with Epstein. That is not true. And Epstein harassed a couple female employees at Mar-a-Lago about 20 years ago, and Trump banned him from the premises. So Trump is not part of that whole. Trump has never smoked, never taken a drink. The guy has lived a very, very clean life. He was not buddies with Epstein. And when the stuff started to surface as far as his behavior was concerned, he distanced himself long before anybody else. So the next one here is kind of an interesting place to start. So now the fun part begins. It's time to end the Fed, begin mass deportations, put heavy tariffs in place, make massive government cuts via DOGE, so Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon and Ron Paul, lower taxes, drill baby drill, end Marxist woke ideologies in schools, remove fluoride from the water. So I'm going to leave that up so that everybody can see it. I'll zoom in a little bit so it's not so much of an eye test here. And here's my question to each of you on this particular piece. What is one or two things, Justin, that you would like to see occur that is not on that list?
I think that's a pretty comprehensive list. I mean, if he does all of that, we'll see a new America. I mean, you have to be careful how you deal with the, you know, with the question of how you're going to print money and how you're going to inflate the currency, because with the amount of debt which we have right now, one advantage is that, you know, BRICS and those organizations are trying to de-dollarize the world, and they're having some effect. But we have to remember that since we have a lot of dollars out there internationally, you know, our ability to be able to print money is basically an ability to tax the world, because, you know, inflating the currency is basically a tax on financial assets. And if the world has our financial assets, we're able to tax the world. And so, you know, I don't want to give up that, you know, our dollar, which is, you know, the de facto world currency at this point, even though it's becoming weaker. So we have to take care on how we manage that, because we don't want all those dollars overseas coming back home and bringing hyperinflation to the U.S. But other than that, I think that's a very solid list, and we should, other than taking care of how we manage the dollar, I think if we do that, that would be pretty good.
Yep. Good comments. Sean, your thoughts on anything that should be added to this list, in your opinion?
Oh, yes. President Trump mentioned that he would actually allow school choice, especially for children and parents, allowing their parents to choose even homeschooling, and that homeschooling would get that tax credit too. So you can keep your kids out of the satanic system with the Marxist woke ideology, etc. But you have choices. You can put them in private schools. You can put them in homeschooling. You can do. You have the choice. You have that ability. And President Trump already says he's 100% behind that kind of school choice. So we're, that would be, of course, amazing for parents and people who are raising, their children and want to raise them in the right way. And of course, we were talking with a whole bunch of folks, but President Trump also talked about, of course, your lower taxes, drill, baby, drill, but bringing God back into the public discourse. That is so important. Even like the 10 Commandments and these kind of things coming back, and we have to understand our Christian heritage. 13 of the states in the Revolutionary period, they didn't. They mentioned God 4 times in the Declaration of Independence, and it ends with like a prayer. But each one of the state constitutions, you had to profess your faith in Jesus Christ. We are a Christian civilization. All our jurisprudence, the ideas of being being a jury of your peers, innocent until proven guilty, et cetera, et cetera. This all comes from the general notion of the biblical principles that are outlined in Scripture, the sanctity of a human being, all these kind of things that with these immoral issues that we face, and these things, kids having exposure to this at an early age. We used to have prayer in schools. We used to have reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance. We had to do these things, and that builds patriotism and a general morality that is essential for being an American person, right? And we've seen that degradation then lead to culture, which is like completely un-American. They hate America. They literally want to tear it down, destroy it. They say nothing good. There's nothing good about America whatsoever, because we may have had the sin of slavery, which we inherited from the British, and the whole dang world had it, of every race and every creed in the entire history of mankind, right? It is a fallen world. And of course, we're the first ones to get rid of it. But the point is that bringing God back to the forefront and bringing that general understanding of morality and right and wrong, this is absolutely essential. We've become a degenerate and debauched society, and we become so far away from the general principles of our founding fathers, who, by the way, all of the founding fathers except for one, but basically all church-going theists, Bible-believing, Christians, and or deists. So we had John Adams saying very clearly that this republic is for a people that is a moral people and a religious people, and that doesn't mean we have to be holier than thou. We're better than thou and all this kind of thing. Everybody worship me, this kind of thing. No, in fact, it's the opposite. The religious life in Christ teaches us humility. We're saved by grace. We're sinners saved by grace, and we have the open heart. We have the heart towards people, but to be saved and to come into the true nature and relationship with God, which allows us to actualize our true human potential and establish a culture and a civilization which is coherent, which has morality, which has the healthy boundaries that God has put on it, and we don't become like we have become, this crazy society of insane asylum people running this whole place and literally running us. People, I just want to remind people how dangerous a situation we were in. I mean, if Kamala got in, she would have started the genocide program. She would have started going after J6ers, everybody who was on the field. She would have started going after anybody who was a MAGA supporter, because they were already on FBI lists, calling them domestic terrorists. That's a term we use for Osama bin Laden and these kind of people. It was hardworking American people were called terrorists and following Hitler, the mass murderer. So they were preparing for total annihilation of the population, of the patriot population, which is probably 60 million strong at least, and or concentration camps. And the idea that this could have happened in the U.S. is absurd, and I think everybody realizes that it was absurd. We dodged this bullet like President Trump did with the hand of God yesterday, but my goodness, they were so close to getting the full power to genocide us, and I just want people to remember that, like, we got to teach our children that we were so close to this, even though we turned this around, because, oh my gosh, we dodged a ginormous bullet last night. And I just pray President Trump gets in there and starts doing this list. This list is amazing. If he can actualize even a portion of this list, America is fundamentally changed, and it will start being reformed. So I just pray that he doesn't waste a day and gets in. And given his stamina as an 80-year-old man, running around at the final day, going to 2:15 in the morning and then getting back home Mar-a-Lago at 5:45 a.m. Oh my gosh, this man is a beast. And so we are praying for his health and praying for him to continue to fight, and we will be on the field with him. And I believe God is in this battle to turn it around. But we gotta keep him in mind, and we gotta keep him first. Amen.
Well said, Sean. Bruce, I know that you've probably got a good, healthy, long list of things that you'd like.
Well, just one thing, and Pastor Moon, all over it, man. I love you, brother. And just what he said about taking God out of school. I grew up in the 60s and 70s, in school. And I remember the very day we stopped the Pledge of Allegiance and we stopped praying. And we went downhill from there. Okay, so what I would like to add to the list, though, is I think what Trump did was a genius chess move when he brought on RFK Jr., right? Yeah. I mean, and I guess what I want to see on that list is make food safe again, right? The crap we sell in the grocery store and in these fast food joints and 7-Elevens, you name it, the dollar store, the food they sell in those places, half of that should be outlawed. So really, why do other countries not even allow that stuff to be sold in their stores? And here it's in our 7-Eleven, and you can go get it every morning. Sugar.
Mm-hmm.
So make food safe again for our next generation would be my ad.
It's good, Bruce. Absolutely. I've got a handful of things that I wrote down, and then a handful of things that I've seen the audience bring up. So 4 that I had written down, 5 that I'd written down, and then I see some people also honed in on them, is rebuild our military, reclassify transgenderism back to being a mental illness like it was classified 2018 and prior. And going hand in hand with that, this whole DEI thing needs to go away. Completely end the Department of Education. We were number 1 in the world for math. We brought the Department of Education around. Now we're number 24. It's unnecessary. Free the J6ers. We've got some connections to some people who've been jailed unjustly, and that's a pretty big one. And then I saw some stuff over here from the audience. Build the wall. And I added just on the end of that, and man it. So walls by themselves are not effective. Walls that are manned, like the Berlin Wall was, they work very effectively, especially if you have a no-go zone where you get one warning shot. Somebody over here also said stop DEI, media transparency and accountability, and looking after our veterans for some stuff from our audience. We've got a pretty astute audience, really good group of people for sure. So I'm gonna bring up this next one here, and instead of me reading all of this text, I'll play the whole video. It's 2 minutes and 20 seconds long, and we'll discuss this next.
BuzzFeed's latest bombshell report. White House is slamming a bombshell report by BuzzFeed.
With a bombshell report from BuzzFeed.
If the BuzzFeed bombshell is true,
Bombshell report.
The Russians had compromising videos of Donald Trump watching prostitutes urinate on a bed in the Moscow Ritz-Carlton presidential suite.
Donald Trump engaged in perverted acts with prostitutes.
In reality, A bunch of the dossier has proven to be true. B,
B, the FBI and the CIA have reportedly validated parts of it as true.
Investigators have corroborated part of the dossier.
Dossier has been corroborated by the intelligence community.
U.S. investigators have corroborated some of the allegations in that dossier.
We do know that parts of it have been corroborated.
The president was compromised by a hostile foreign government, full stop.
The possibility, a very real possibility, that President Putin holds damaging information over President Trump.
What do the Russians have on Donald Trump? Politically, personally, or financially?
But it hasn't been discredited. In fact, it's been the opposite. It's been corroborated. Much of the dossier has been corroborated.
This discredited dossier,
It hasn't been discredited. Your intel community has corroborated all of the details in there.
A golden shower tape involving prostitutes.
Golden showers, infamous compromise tape referred to in the dossier.
Russian prostitutes and that other thing. Russians had a so-called P tape.
The P tape, that tape about the stuff in the hotel room in Russia.
The Steele dossier, the Steele dossier, the Steele dossier. What's in the Steele dossier? The PP tape.
PP tape. PP tape.
It didn't happen. Despite the president's dismissals of the dossier, sources say it is gaining increasing credibility in both the intelligence community and Congress.
Some of it, what we did corroborate in the ICA. And of course, it appears that more of it has been corroborated.
Many of the things represented in the Steele reports were in fact true.
When the president just refers to it as fake dossier, that is false.
I don't think that's the accurate characterization for the entirety of the dossier.
I don't know whether the current president of the United States was with prostitutes peeing on each other in Moscow in 2013.
So now we're into the realm of not just media transparency, accountability, one of our audience's words, but we're also into the intelligence community, the bureaucracy. I don't know if you guys have noticed recently that a lot of talking heads, including Kissinger and Liz Cheney, have been going on bemoaning that if we vote Donald Trump in, it's going to be an assault on our bureaucracy, as if that's a bad thing. But in all of these instances, you've got easily disproven lies that were intended to smear Donald Trump. It's media, it's the intel community, it's the bureaucracy, and the list goes on and on. So my question again is, let's just say for argument's sake that the consensus is we don't want to put any rules and regulations in for the media like Justin suggested. And I'm not saying that's a bad way to go whatsoever. What about putting some rules in place that actually get enforced for the intel community and the bureaucracy? So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, Justin.
I mean, the intel community committed treason against the sitting president. That's treason. They should be arrested, charged with treason, and be executed, all of them.
Agreed. Very succinctly and well said, Justin. Sean, do you want to add your 2 cents?
Well, you know, the Bible calls us to stand up against unrighteousness, and how we do that is upholding justice. God is a just God. He is not, you know, his justice is an outflow of his goodness. And if you have a judge that does not judge evil, that judge is not good. You know, so, you know, the justice system is supposed to represent that. So if somebody is committing treason and high crimes such as that, I mean, that is punishable by death. That those rules are put in place so that the next generation of potential criminals and, or, you know, in this case, you know, terrorists that have infiltrated our government, they think again when they're about to commit those kind of acts. And so, yeah, it has to be enforced. Real consequences have to be given. These people literally were going to, you know, especially with the Fauci, and all that, it's potential that they have harmed at least 100 million people, if not killed 100 million people with that. But on top of that, all the other things that they were planning to do, especially with the Patriots and the camps that they were preparing, all this kind of stuff, which was, you know, reported even by the former governor of Minnesota, the pro wrestler, I can't remember his name, Jesse, I believe it is, Jesse. Ventura, yes, Ventura. That was reported on him like years ago, and he actually was seeing, you know, they had the coffins and all this kind of stuff. He had it on film. And but they were preparing for massive basically work style camps, and Hillary Clinton talked about it as, quote, re-education camps, that the, quote, supporters of Donald Trump need to be, quote, re-educated. That is communist language. That is 100% communist language. That's 100% the political Satanist beast system that does that, has done that in all the countries that have experienced communism. So it is not unique. They were 100% rolling this out on the American people, and this was the dividing edge. I mean, we were right on the line. So I just again, I just want to remind people how close we got. We must never forget. My gosh, God saved us with the bullet, but we were so close to being these criminals and terrorists that have infiltrated our government, unleashing the power of the entire apparatus, not only on President Trump and his family, but on every single one of us. I mean, it was that close. So we have to give consequences 1,000,000%. So President Trump, he's going back with a mission, and we're praying for him.
Well said, Sean. Bruce, how do we deal with these rogue intel agencies and these bureaucrats who get entrenched for 30 years and in many cases answer to nobody?
I think Trump's favorite line is, "You're fired." But I mean, seriously, if you researched sealed indictments, go on Twitter, plug in sealed indictments, hit enter, and just start, digging down through the threads. I think you'll find there's actions being taken. One of the most recent ones was John Podesta. You guys remember John Podesta?
Oh, yeah.
His friend, Slade Somer, Sohmer, was just arrested here recently. I want to say for child molestation or something sick. But if you go read those articles about him, you'll find that those two words, sealed indictments. So where are these sealed indictments sitting? How many are there? We hear there's over 500,000 now. So
big number.
I mean, just huge numbers. And this is worldwide too. I mean, we're talking about child trafficking, back to adrenochrome, and all these people are involved in all of it. They're hiding it. They bringing kids across the border. What was 325,000 missing children now that came across the border?
Well, that's what they've admitted to. J.J. Carroll says that number's way north of 500,000.
Yeah, exactly. He brought that up last night, and our government's complicit. So who's responsible? Who is responsible? And they got to, and like Mr. Moon said, Pastor Moon and Justin, you got to hold these people accountable, and the way to do it is put your hand on the Bible and tell the judge.
There you go. So I would just add that I think we need to completely blow up the intelligence community and the bureaucracy and build them back up again. I don't think that you can reform something like the FBI that has now many decades of problems. There's a culture there that needs to go away. And, for them, so I didn't vote for anybody for our congressional rep yesterday because I had voted for our incumbent the past two elections, but he voted against requiring a warrant to spy on any of us, but no warrants being required for Congress people. And that sort of attitude right there, we've got to stomp that out. That's what's good for you should be good for me. And that's just not the way that pans out. So anyway, one of our people in our audience, I just caught out of the corner of my eye, was asking him if we were going to say anything about Jack Smith. So what I will say is that usually we have the brief done for each day's or each evening's episode by early afternoon. It gets posted on Patreon. It gets posted on our Signal chat. It gets emailed and sent to all of our people who are on the panel. I was a little bit late today because it was a super late night last night, but you can follow along in the brief, and we don't always have enough time to hit all of the things that are in there. So there's some extra bonus stuff, but we had it queued up as far as Jack Smith and the DOJ's case against Donald Trump. So this has been canceled effective as of today. The DOJ said, they have a standing policy that they do not pursue charges against a sitting president, and it would be long after Trump's inauguration before this case could move any further ahead. And on top of which, there are some pretty significant legal challenges that were already in the works, that Jack Smith's appointment to this make-believe position had no foundation in law. So what's ironic is that just before we went live tonight, I noticed Letitia James, doubling down how she's going to keep going after Trump, and good luck with that. I mean, they don't seem to learn. They keep doing the same thing as getting the same results. But my next question is based on what happened at the DOJ and Jack Smith. Justin, what are your opinions as far as the lawfare that's been waged against Donald Trump and others? Because I really believe that they had every intention of doing it to Elon Musk next. But what do you think happens to all that stuff? Do they push forward with it, or do they leave it to Congress to impeach them, which they're not going to get now because we have majorities across the board? But that's what the DOJ said. DOJ said, we don't pursue charges against sitting presidents, up to the Congress to impeach. I'm just curious what everybody's thoughts are on the lawfare. I know we're all against it, so that's the obvious part. But do you think they keep doing it?
President Trump is going to be the chief executive. All those people in the DOJ, FBI, CIA work for him. What he needs to do is fire all the heads 6 or 7 levels down, and then order the rest of them to go and imprison, Ergadin and everybody who weaponized the media in the previous administration up to Biden, charge them, indict them, and, throw them in the gas chamber.
So I meant to put something in the brief. I didn't put it in the brief, and you just tweaked me on it. So we'll roll it into this round of questioning. What do you think should be done with regards to the people who cheated in the 2020 election? Because
they should be executed, charged, prosecuted, convicted, thrown in the gas chamber, and burnt to toast. I don't care. Let's get rid of
I don't care about the people, but I do care that something be done. We're back to consequences, right? Sean, what do you think as far as the lawfare, and do they continue to pursue it against Trump, as well as the 2020 the people in 2020 who actively subverted the will of the people?
Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. I'm not a lawyer or anything, but it's been crazy what they've been doing, weaponizing the legal system against President Trump. He literally got all these cases against him for having perfect bank record, paying all his bills on time, and running an excellent real estate operation. I mean, it's unbelievable, it's incredible. But of course, we know that's political targeting. They do that in all different type of communist and fascist states. That's standard procedure, and that's their SOP. They're moving, and they were moving, up and up the chain of ladder in terms of more and more extreme action taken against him. And Tucker Carlson was warning even in his interview, President Trump, don't you worry. Now they've done everything to you except for now try to kill you. And Trump kind of brushed it off. But I think now after the assassination attempts, he really knows that these people are out to blow his head off. So I just, you mentioned Elon, and we're so happy to hear Elon talking about, even in the Department of Governmental Efficiency, but in government worldwide, throughout the board, he was talking about transparency, meaning that, they should not be able to get warrants to spy on you. You should be able to type in live any department you want to see, and their office should be live streaming 24/7, basically. So any backroom deals, everything is live streamed, and everybody because they're employees of us, we can monitor them at any time. Just type in the department you want to see and the person, whatever, and that brings transparency to the people in government, as opposed to them being able to spy on you and censor you and do all this stuff to you. They should have it turned on them, and my gosh, that would be tremendous if our public servants. Where we could actually see what they're doing, what kind of deals they're doing behind the scenes. That would be unbelievable change. But I think the lawfare, definitely the system that they're using against the president is totally ridiculous. And as my brother so beautifully, and I would say he refreshingly says, because these people have committed acts of treason against the United States. This is not a small crime. You are putting the jeopardy of the entire United States on the line, and that's 300 million plus citizens. And so these are massive crimes, and when indicted, it should be the highest level punishment available to be enacted. So, President Trump I think he's going back in, and General Flynn. We were with General Flynn at the Freedom Festival, and Tom Homan and Jack Posobiec and all these folks, and they were very confident that President Trump this time is going in strong, and he knows what to do. So praise God, and we are praying for him.
Yeah, I agree, Sean. Bruce, your thoughts on this lawfare and bullshit lawfare and the people who stole the election in 2020?
It's exactly what Justin and Pastor Moon said. It's election interference. They use the media and the headlines in the newspapers, to brainwash the people. The Mockingbird experiment. I'm gonna be a Mockingbird. It's real. If I tell you Trump's a bad guy for freaking 5 years straight, then if that's all you do is watch the media, then okay, Trump's a bad guy. But if you learn how to do research, you'll find out none of it's true, right? Just a couple points, though, like Justin was talking about, gas chambers or send them to the gallows, whatever. Think about this. Biden ran on what? One thing he said a lot of people forgot about was they were going to close Gitmo. Does anybody remember that?
I do. You're
Why
right.
didn't they close Gitmo? Actually, there was $1 billion or $2 billion spent renovating Gitmo for what? Live jury trials. Who they gonna try? Something must be coming, right? And then I think it was a month or so, maybe 3 months now, the Washington Post or the Washington Times put out an article about televising trials in Gitmo and making it public. You have to go research that article, but I don't have a copy with me, but it's not that hard to find. But why are they talking about it? Why is the media so nervous when Trump's taking office? I mean, you look at these people; they're panicking.
They are.
Yeah. Just put all those little pieces together, and get your head out of the sand and think a little bit.
For sure.
To genocide us, 60 million pigs they were going to put in the oven.
Yeah.
So I didn't make a note of who asked this, but it's a good question. And so I'll give everybody a chance to weigh in on it. Do you think Trump could block Soros' acquisition of the 200 conservative talk radio stations that he purchased?
Absolutely.
So that deal hasn't closed yet? I thought it had closed. No, it hasn't? Okay.
I mean, if Trump makes it clear that what Soros is doing, he's pursuing national policies which are against the national interests of America, he can label him. He can convict him as being a foreign spy or a foreign traitor working for, a different globalist international order which is based in foreign countries. He has full legal grounds to go after him with the full force of law, and to arrest him and to charge him and strip him of his property and his life after a conviction.
Well, wasn't it Putin that labeled that guy as a terrorist? Was it Putin?
Yeah, domestic terrorist. Yep.
Right. Right. Yep. So I mean, that's all Trump's got to do, right?
Charge him. Absolutely, he can go after him.
Yeah, that's great. We don't need to beat that to death, but I appreciate your comments on that. So I can't stand Jake Tapper, and he gets caught really flat-footed here. I love this.
So you asked, are there any places that the vice president is overperforming Joe Biden in 2020? So we could show you that as well. We just bring that out here. Harris overperforming in 2020.
Holy smokes.
There you go. So let this go away and see if there's anything on the east side there.
Literally nothing?
Literally nothing.
Literally not one county?
So you asked, are there any places
Oh, praise God.
I mean, that
I never saw that clip. That is phenomenal.
Jake Tapper is absolutely an agent of disinformation, and I love it when he gets caught in those sort of things. So we've got some more humorous things to share. Again, everything, usually I organize the links a little bit better than tonight, but it was a super late night and I wanted to keep it a little bit light tonight, but this is good. Please don't fly anywhere on November the 6th. We need those plane seats empty for all the celebrities and athletes who promised to leave America when President Trump wins. I mean, that kills me. So here's another one. Barack and Michelle Obama have just boarded a private jet and are leaving the country, obviously not permanently. Who else said they will leave? I can tell you all of these people and then some, like all the other people who've gone hard at Trump. De Niro is a good example. He's the fourth one over from the left in the top row there. I used to love watching De Niro movies, and I can't even watch any content with him in it whatsoever now because it just I can't stand the guy. So my next question is, I mean, we see what the end result is. They keep doing the same thing and they keep getting the same results. But in your opinion, Justin, does anybody listen to these celebrities? Like, does anybody really give a shit what they say?
Oh, I think we should listen because every single one of those who say they're going to flee the country when Trump becomes president are saying that because most likely, my guess is that they are pedophiles.
Yeah. Yeah, great point, Justin. I personally feel like when any of these people go hard against Trump or go hard against patriotism, whatever the case may be, somebody is holding something over them. And most likely some sort of sexually deviant thing, right? I was told quite a while ago that the reason that you see fresh Congress reps voting on stuff that they campaigned against is that when they get to Washington initially, they don't have a home or a condo or an apartment that they're renting, so they stay in nice hotels. And the bad guys, call it the intel guys, CIA, they know what that person's weakness is, what they have some strange kink for, and they get the person drunk, and lo and behold, that whatever that person's into shows up, and they end up in a hotel room that's bugged with cameras. And then a few months later, they say, hey, you're going to vote this way on this bill. And the person says, no, I'm not going to do that. And they say, well, we could release this information if you don't. And I've heard that from several people that have been, in the DC, whatever you want to call it, machine for many, many years. So I think out of 538 people, Senate plus House, you could probably count on one hand the number of people who are legit people and not there for just theater and all the baloney that goes with it. So, Sean, you're going to love this one. I love this too. Everything happens when it's supposed to happen. We're all where we're supposed to be. And I personally think that the 8 bureaucrats essentially who trashed that guy's house in upstate New York, I think it was near Albany maybe, that had all the rescue horses and Peanut the squirrel and Fred the raccoon. So there were eight civil servants spent an entire day on that. They trashed the guy's house instead of doing really legit work. Okay, so if there's Jack Posobiec here says, look at what he says. Say God isn't real. Watch what happens here. This is while they're waiting for Kamala to come out and give her concession speech. And what runs across the stage? And like I say,
Peanut.
Yeah, right from Jack Posobiec there. Say God isn't real. I mean, I thought that was
my gosh, that is unbelievable. I didn't see that one.
Well, it just happened this afternoon when she was giving her concession speech. So let me pull another one up here. I won't bother playing the video because it's not necessary. But, we've touched on government officials doing, bad things and being held accountable. We briefly touched on J6, that, those innocent people, which there are a handful of people who did bad things and should probably stay in jail, but the vast majority are political persecutions. What are your thoughts on, Liz Cheney, Kissinger, and everybody else who ran this, J6 investigation, and essentially it was all baloney at the end of the day? What level of, accountability should they be held to, Justin? Do we go back and basically say, all you people who did this, we're going to put you on trial?
That fraudulent J6 committee, they purposely lied. They purposely misrepresented the truth. In effect, they ran a coup d'etat against the sitting president.
Yes.
So that's by any means, that's treason. They all should be tried for treason.
I'm in agreement. I mean, I've seen some people who are claimed to be Trump supporters say, let's just move forward. You can't drive looking in the rearview mirror. And I disagree. I think we got to go after them. But Sean, what are your thoughts on this J6 committee?
Oh my gosh, 100% what Justice said. I mean, they put people in solitary confinement for hundreds and hundreds of days, no due process whatsoever, all their constitutional rights thrown out the window. I mean, this is utter violation. Of course, as you said, they did a coup d'etat. They stole the entire United States government. I mean, and the control of the country. I mean, that is treason. If that's not treason, I don't know what is. Treason, sedition. I mean, that is incredible. So they have to definitely be punished at the highest power. No question about it.
I agree. Just a simple thought here is that if they're not held accountable for that, it will happen again at some point in the
100%.
future. Yeah. Bruce, your quick thoughts on Liz and Kissinger and the rest of them?
Yeah, so I guess I kind of want to have a different spin on this. Can you pull up Twitter right now, Chris?
Yeah, I can.
Can you plug in Jake Lang?
Sure can.
And then share screen.
Lang with an E or no E on the end?
No E. Yeah. Yep. January 6th.
Okay.
Can you share screen that?
Yep. Just one moment here.
So we're not going to read these two tweets, but I want the audience to really think about what Jake says in these two tweets.
Okay. So people, he's right here.
Click on his link. Just open it up. All right, scroll down. The first one just stays there all the time, but go down to the next one. It says 26 minutes ago. Then go down to the next one. It says 10 hours. And then one more. And then one more. All right, that one. I want everybody to go hit that show more and read those two tweets and realize what they've done to this guy. The reason I love this guy, Jake, is because he's actually been on our podcast twice.
Right.
Don't ask me how he did it, but he got a burner phone of some sort.
Okay.
And called us from prison. Did it twice. It's really touching, and he turned to Christ like big time. And Cindy Lou is another J6er. She hasn't been tried yet, but she's been on our podcast probably 3 or 4 times. But she's real close to Jake too. But if you go read those tweets and look how he calls out the demons in those prisons, the J6 commission, he calls them all out. But at the end of each of those times he calls them out, he says, "And I forgive you." And that, Pastor Moon, that's a powerful statement when he says, "And I forgive you." He's letting them know that, they're going to pay the price when they go see God.
Yeah.
Yes. No. 100%. Like, that's the Christ calls us to forgive on an individual level.
Yep.
But of course, when you talk about jurisprudence, now you're talking about crimes that have been done to the entire nation.
Yep.
So those are, we can still forgive the person. We can still pray for the person. But of course, when those crimes are done to the entire nation, then justice must be upheld in order to maintain justice, which is a reflection of God's goodness. So, individual forgiveness and individual charity, all these things we can do, but we also have to maintain the resemblance to God's nature of upholding justice. That would just be my point on that. That God calls us to forgive, but at the same time, he calls us to do what is just. And so we can do
Correct.
both at the same time.
Yep.
And not become evil, not become the evil that we are fighting against.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's been in jail for 3 years without a trial. What's wrong with that picture? What's wrong with that picture?
That is injustice.
Yep.
So I don't know. Are y'all familiar with Colton and Sarah Maccabee by chance?
Oh yeah, we know him.
So we've had Sarah on a couple times just for the benefit of our audience, because I've told this story a couple times, but anybody who's new will not have heard it. But every time I've said this in the past, I end up getting emails, private messages from people going, how on earth is this happening in America? So Colton Maccabee was a sheriff's deputy. He was in DC on January 6, 2021, and a cop ended up on the ground and people were trampling him, and Colton protected the cop and ended up getting him back to his feet. And there's video from 4 different angles of the cop saying, I can't thank you enough. You know, I really appreciate your assistance. And Colton, by the way, he had on his sheriff's gears. He had a tack vest on and stuff like that. Then there was a lady who had a heart attack and she ended up dying. And Colton was the only one in close proximity who knew CPR, tried to save her. The paramedics show up and he was shaken from it, right? And there's a couple more videos where the paramedics say to him, listen, you couldn't have saved her. I mean, clearly the damage to her heart was beyond what anybody could have done. You went above and beyond, did whatever you could. August 2021, the feds show up at his door in Kentucky. So Sarah and Colton, high school sweethearts, at this point in time, they're in their late 20s, early 30s, and they haul him off to jail. So they had a section of the Washington, D.C. jail, the gulag, for lack of a better term, that had been unoccupied for many, many years. All kinds of water intrusion, so therefore all kinds of mold, full of rats, just absolutely filthy. So they arrest him and they stick him in there with some other J6ers. Then they put him in the general population. When the general population found out that he was a sheriff's deputy, you know, lots of fights, assaulted. So they started moving him all over the country. Sarah did not get to speak to him on the phone for over a month. She did not get to see him for an entire year, the first year he was incarcerated. When it went in front of the judge, and by the way, he's now in his 21st penal institution. They put him in the general population. He gets ganged up on, so they take him out, they move him to another penal institution, and they keep putting him in the general population, right? So when he gets in front of the judge, and I can't remember her name, but she's very notorious, the judge in DC who's been throwing the book at these people, she specifically forbade any of the video evidence from being introduced in court that completely exonerated him. And she sent him up the river for, I want to say 6-7 years, maybe even longer than that. And, you know, hopefully with any luck, people like Colton, that Trump gets them out of jail like right away. This guy did absolutely nothing wrong. He didn't break into anywhere. He didn't assault anybody. And that's what the charges were, by the way. They convicted him for 4 counts of assault on the cop when the cop is thanking him for saving his life, and 2 counts of assault on the lady who died. Absolutely atrocious stuff. This is stuff you would expect from third world banana countries, right? So we're in the home stretch here. I got 10 tabs open. I'm going to nuke a couple of them. We don't really need to hear from Keith Olbermann, for example. The guy's a nutcase, but I had him in there. I'm not going to cover that one. I am going to cover this one, though. And I did have an opportunity to go and do a little bit more reading on this elsewhere. But Iran has released a video today that they are going to eliminate Donald.
آقای ترامپ قمارباز، من به شما میگویم نیروی خود حریف شماست. هیچ شبی نیست ما نخوابیم. به شما فکر نکنید.
So I personally feel like it's posturing. I'm not that they wouldn't take a run at Donald Trump if they could, but considering everything that's going on in the Middle East with Israel and now Iran, Justin, what are your thoughts? Do you think that they would actually follow up on that, or at least attempt to assassinate Donald Trump here in America?
No, I think that video was produced by the FBI. I mean,
could be.
I mean, really, I support Israel. I think they're a very important ally of us. But I don't want to get involved in another Middle East war. I don't think that we want our blood and our treasure poured in that endless pit. So, I mean, I think Israel's doing a lot of foolish things lately because, they started the war. Well, they had the war in Gaza, which they lost. And then they escalate the war to a more powerful force, Hezbollah, and they lost. And now they're escalating it to Iran, who is even more powerful than all of those combined. And so I don't understand. It's almost as if Israel's trying to commit state suicide.
Mm.
So I don't want us to get involved in that kind of crazy, irrational area and have our boys just slaughtered out there, because the Iranian military has become powerful. They're no joke. Iran is a major power in that region now, and they just keep on getting stronger. And if we think that we're going to send our boys to walk over Iran without us losing a ton of them, we're insane. We've depleted our entire military arsenal by giving all of our weapons away to Ukraine and to Israel. We have nothing left to fight with.
Right. Justin, I am in 100% agreement with everything that you said. I'm just going to tell a quick anecdotal story here. So on Saturday, we went to Sam's to stock up. We have tons of preps, but I said to my wife, I said, we should take advantage of this. Let's go stock up some more. You can never have too much, food and water and all those things there. I did a rough estimate and came up with approximately 1,000 people were in the store at the same time as us. And while we were walking around, I made a mental note of everybody there that I would be willing to go to war with. And when we got to the end, just before we went to the checkout, I hit 5 individuals. That's it. 5. The rest of them were either, grossly overweight or skinny fat, whatever the case may be. But 5 people that I go to war with. I go to the restroom. I come out of the restroom, and this guy from Iran says, "Hey, are you from Survival Dispatch?" And we end up getting into a conversation. The guy was a commando in the Iranian army when the revolution happened, and there were 300 in his unit. And they were taking them 5 at a time from the barracks to this room where there was one of the mullahs or whatever was executing each one of them by shooting them in the head one at a time. There were 2 guards with one of these, senior guys who left the room for whatever reason. So now you've got the boss and you got 5 of these guys that he's fixing to execute. He had a robe on and he had a suit underneath that. And he went to pull his pistol and somehow it got stuck in between the robe, and the suit. And this guy shows me this move that he made on him. And you could tell he was legit. He was in shape and had some training. By the way, he was number 6 that I would go to war with. Anyway, they managed to overpower the guy, and the 5 of them got away, and they're the only 5 that survived. The other 295 were executed. His sister was a student at the American high school in Tehran, which our good friend Admiral Robert Harward went to because his father was stationed there at the time. Small world. Every single person in that guy's family were executed. And he stayed in Iran trying to rescue them for a short period of time. When he realized that they'd all been executed, he got out. He came over here. He ended up going to Embry-Riddle, which is the astronaut university, not 20 minutes from here. And phenomenal guy, but he said something. Now, I hope I didn't tell this story while you guys were on previously, but he kept saying to me, "We're not bad people. It's our government. Please don't hate the Iranian people. It's not us. It's the government." And I said the same thing to him. I said, "Well, good. Don't hate Americans because it's not us. It's the government," sort of thing. So anyway, bit of a rabbit hole there. I apologize for digressing. But any comments on your part, Sean and Bruce, before we move on? I've got an RFK thing up next.
It just seems whenever they say Iran did it, it just means CIA did it. That's the code word for CIA, I guess.
So, are y'all familiar with Lieutenant Colonel Doc Pete Chambers by chance?
Pete Chambers.
Watch him on your channel all the time.
Yeah, so he's a friend of mine, and he spent 39 years in. He was a Green Beret, one of only 6 Green Berets who became trauma flight surgeons, and he left in 3 years ago because the administration was trying to get him to do the injections, and he wouldn't do it. So he started doing border patrol by himself on one of his horses with his dog, just gathering intel and relaying it back to the DPS. And now there's a whole group of them that are working together, and they have a bunch of different lines of effort as far as, you know, child sex trafficking, the border patrol, helping people get ministries off the ground. They've been in North Carolina, you know, in the relief efforts. They were there for like 4 weeks, came home for a week, heading straight back again. And anyway, where I was going with that, golly, I've lost it. It was right on the tip of my dang tongue. So he gets a call from this guy about 6 weeks ago, and the guy says, I got some stuff I need to show you. It was from Border Patrol, and it was 9 man pads. So these are very small shoulder mounted heat seeking missiles, right? So it's a 1.5 pound payload, and typically used to take engines out of jets as they're coming in for a landing or just after they've taken off. So if you hit a big plane and you took out one of 4 engines, they probably wouldn't crash. You got to hit them a second time, so on and so forth. And there's pictures that this guy ends up giving to Doc that there's, what's the cartel? Sinaloa cartel and CBP officers in cahoots with them, and showing all of this stuff. And when he gave it to Trump and Trump's security guys, it ended up going from there up the food chain, you know, so Secret Service, etc. And you know what they turned around and said, Sean? They said, yeah, this is the Iranians trying to kill Donald Trump, and it's also the Sinaloa cartel, and the whole thing. The conclusion that was drawn by a few people, including Doc, that it was our own government doing it and trying to blame it on Iran, Hezbollah, and everybody else is exactly what you just
That's
stated.
what they said at Butler. Remember when they tried to shoot his head off?
Yeah,
they said that it was probably Iran. Oh my gosh.
Crazy stuff. I had a thing up for RFK. I'm not going to bring it up because we're running long on time here. For those of you who have access to our Signal chat, you can go grab it there. I posted the PDF there before we came online. I will play this next one just because we did discuss Scott Pressler briefly at the beginning, and this is a pretty cool video.
Why are illegal immigrants more important than Americans? I'd like to hear an answer. Why are illegal immigrants more important than homeless people sleeping on the streets? Why do we, in one of the biggest economies here in California, take care of illegal immigrants, but our people are sleeping on the streets? I'd like to hear an answer to that. Why? Nobody can ever answer that question. Why don't people put American citizens first, but illegal immigrants get everything? And I hope you post this. I want this to go viral because I give a damn and I care about my community. My dad is a retired Navy captain. He served our country honorably. My grandfather is a retired Navy captain, and I'm doing my part to help our country. The Democrat Party does not put our people first. They put sanctuary cities first. They put illegal aliens first. They tax us. They tax our water. You can't even do laundry and shower on the same day. While Nancy Pelosi is getting hundreds of thousands of dollars, robbing our pockets, not doing anything for our people, not passing legislation, passing out pens like they're candy.
So that's from the period in time when he lived in California. This is before he got to PA, but the person posted that video because they wanted to draw attention to that. He's been at this for a while, very passionate. I agree with what Justin said. There's a lot of people played a role, but he was a pivotal individual, and just a great shining example of what it means to be American. So this is a funny meme that was posted earlier at JD Vance parody account construction starting on the side of the White House with the golden arches, McDonald's. I thought that one was pretty funny. I'm guessing that y'all saw today that like the stock market jumped, the dollar surged, Bitcoin surged. It's amazing the Trump effect, what it's having. You gotta love AI. I don't know why, but this one in particular kind of left a mark with me, and I thought it was kind of humorous.
While I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
It's really, really well done. And so the next two, there's a little bit of profanity here, but somebody did this AI thing with this video for her, and then they did one on Joe Biden, and they're both really, really funny.
My fellow Americans, we all knew this day was coming. As difficult as it is to accept that I'm one of the most unpopular candidates in history, even with the entire mainstream media machine backing me and working to get me elected, it appears I have lost the race. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Fox, and everyone else that wasn't on Team Joy. Fuck you. Fuck all of you. You motherfuckers just can't stand to see a strong Black and occasionally Indian woman succeed. How the fuck did I get 15 million less votes than that retard Joe Biden in 2020? And pardon my language, but everyone knows under a second Trump term, we're allowed to say retarded again. So get off my balls. But seriously, how the fuck did Joe get 15 million more votes than me? I'm starting to think maybe we did steal that election in 2020. No way his dusty ass did that much better than me.
So it carries on. It's pretty funny. There's a shorter one here with Joe Biden that's pretty funny.
My fellow Americans and autists who voted for Trump, it's your boy Dank Brandon here. I want to take a moment to congratulate the DNC on losing another election to Donald Trump. You replaced me with a candidate who has the same likability as Greasy, hobo taint, and expected to win, and they say I'm the retarded one. The Democrats said that I was too old, that I was too slow, that I was a joke. Well, here's a joke for you. What do Willie Brown and the 2024 presidential election have in common? Kamala Harris blew both of them. I shouldn't have said that. But seriously, I mean, first Hillary loses to Donald and now Kamala. This man has beaten more women than Doug Emhoff. Anyways, that's losing to Hitler again. I hope he locked you all up this time. Thank Brandon out.
And this
did you see Joe Biden in the red MAGA outfit going to vote?
Yeah, it was classic. Yeah. And so this is the last one that I had in the brief, and it's so the quote is, "It's time to stop this insanity, pass it on." And my reaction to it is, it's not time to stop this insanity. It is going to stop. There will be no more of this mental illness in government positions, especially our military. So one of the things that I'm pretty adamant with Survival Dispatch News, we've been doing it for a couple of years now. This is actually episode 301, by the way, in that we cover whatever the topic is. So we've covered the election in depth and all the shenanigans that have gone with it, is that we try to provide things for our audience, like homework, things that they can actually do to have a positive impact on their own life or the country or other people's lives. And I didn't really come up with a whole bunch of them for tonight. I usually have a list of 5 to 10. I've got 3, and then I'd like to hear each of your opinions on what you think people can do in light of everything that we discussed tonight. So, and these are in no particular order, but the first one I put down was to stay vigilant and report any unusual things that you see in person or online. You know, we have a record number of known terrorists in the country now. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And even Christopher Wray, who's been trying to cover his ass, has said multiple times, you know, we're going to have some sort of terrorist attack. And we've seen lots of different intel, and there's some pretty good, pretty solid intel saying that we will see simultaneous attacks, much like 9/11, but on a broader scale. So stay vigilant. Number 2, I'm sorry for the way that this sounds, but I'm pretty steadfast in it. And figuratively speaking, stick to your guns. There can be no reconciliation with where the left is today. I am not reconciling with somebody who thinks a man can get pregnant and that there's 378 different genders. We're way past reconciliation. We're way past unity. And we've literally got to stop these communist ideas and get them the heck out of our country. And the third one, simple thing, but I preach it to people routinely: phone down, eyes up when you're in public. So put your weapon of mass distraction down when you're in public and increase your situational awareness. Justin, I mean, you're a firearms guy. Thoughts on what people can do in light of all the stuff we discussed today?
Yeah, I mean, we do have our president in office now. So if things go south, it's going to be more like the Civil War, where the Union had Abraham Lincoln as their president. And you can fight whatever chaos comes from the office of the presidency. And so that's a big advantage for us. I think we should always keep that in mind and make sure that we're aligned with President Trump and his policies.
Well said, Justin. Sean?
Oh, sorry about that, Chris. Yes, I would just say pray. Number 2, date your wife. Very important. We're talking about all the blackmail and the licentiousness and how to get the people entrapped. My father's talking about the antidote to that is have a great marriage. Have a great marriage. Have a strong marriage. And date and romance your wife. And number 3, tell your pastor to set up a shooting range in the back so all y'all can go barbecue and shooting after service. You learn your morality, you learn your Bible, then you get out and you train. And that's such a wonderful fellowshipping. It builds community, also builds skills. This is what our founding fathers did. This is the whole idea of the well-regulated militia and just citizens who are knowledgeable about these things and understand that they are the front line against any type of evil. And we look at that with the school shootings. We look at that with anything, with the mass shooting, et cetera, all on gun-free zones. We have J.D. Vance, who is an A+ GOA rated vice president now that is going in. So we have, massive support, but that doesn't mean we give up our rights. We got to keep training, keep vigilant, keep trained up. And, it's really hard many times to get the sisters or the wife involved in these things. We always suggest, hey, that's why, doing the dates with your wife, romancing her, having great memories together, that becomes a good deposit. So when you then want to train on the range, she is willing to give that life-saving time up, to get herself trained up. And so things that we really recommend, that we really emphasize those things, to train with your family, train with your children, train with your wife. All these things are so important. That training lifestyle is so important. We do, jujitsu and stuff like that with our community, with the kids group, et cetera, martial arts training and programs. So this kind of stuff is wonderful in building fellowship within the faith community that is, of course, centered on God and centered on morals that we learn from Scripture. So I just think we need to get back to that mentality of the community once again, that our tribe of peoples, not just atomized, quote, nuclear family is great, but there's only one fighting male. It's a tribe that has multiple fighting males all together, collective, and they have each other's back. And that's what our founding fathers and the militias were all built upon. And that kind of culture is very important. And firearms and self-defense culture in general builds that kind of culture. So I would just get into that. It's so exciting and so fulfilling, and it builds real skills to fight tyranny and evil. So it is something that a free peoples absolutely must have.
Well said, Sean. And for our audience who aren't familiar with Pastor Sean Moon, he's got me blown away. He's got Vice writing hit pieces on all kinds of stuff. I'm jealous. What a great badge of honor that is to wear. But this is pretty cool stuff. So here's Pastor Sean and the Vice article, and there's a couple other hit pieces. I think Rolling Stone did one as well. The leader of the gun church that worships with AR-15s is now a MAGA rapper. And the reason I mention it was because of your suggestion, to have somewhere out back where y'all can go shoot and do all that fun stuff together. That's awesome. Bruce, what are your thoughts for our audience? What are some things they can do in light of our discussion this evening?
I want Justin and Pastor Moon on my podcast.
I'll be happy to give you all each other's coordinates.
Nah, but really, ditto what those two individuals said. There's nothing better than training. One of the things we've had a couple different people on our podcast. Chris is one of them, but other folks that teach training, handgun training, rifle training, all of those types of things. But if you want to read a good book, that was going to be my point. I don't know if you can see that, probably not, but it's called The Gift of Fear. It's written by Gavin DeBecker. I'm sure Chris knows him. And it's called Survival Signals That Protect Us from Violence. Powerful book, The Gift of Fear by Gavin DeBecker. Get it right on Amazon or any of the bookstores. But it really talks about, if you're in a situation, I think Chris talks a lot about being at the gas pump and, you're freaking looking at your phone and you're not paying attention. Prime time for you to get hit, right? But a lot of times when I go places, I'll get like hair stands up on the back of my neck or just a strange feeling. And then, I'll go on alert and start trying to figure out what I'm looking at here. Situational awareness, right? But anyway, long story short, read that book. Great book to get you kind of focused on, using your sixth senses to survive a deadly attack. God will tell you something's getting ready to happen to you if you pay attention. So,
yeah, we're the only living beings on planet Earth that ignore their sixth sense.
I don't.
So, like a cat sees a dog running in its direction, the cat runs away. It's innate, right? It's innate behavior. Every single person who's been the victim of sudden violence, whether it be, rape, assault, whatever the case may be, every last one of them in the debrief afterwards, the ones who survived said something just didn't feel right every time.
Yep.
And so point being is that what you just said, don't ignore your sixth sense. If something doesn't feel right, it's not right. And my buddy Tony Blauer, who's widely considered the preeminent global expert on sudden violence, he breaks it down really simple into choose safety. And then he breaks it down one step after that where he calls it D1, D2, D3. So D1 means that you have a high level of situational awareness, you see a bad situation, and you don't walk into it. You avoid it. You choose safety. The best fight's the fight that doesn't happen, right? So D2 would be devaluation. So criminals only want one of three things: body, life, or property. And so devaluing oneself is an interesting tactic. I've told this story before. I don't know if everybody who's watching it's heard or not, but I know I haven't told it to you guys. It's really good. I'll sum it up really quickly. This girl calls Tony and says, "Hey, I was at one of your weekend workshops 10 years ago and you saved my life last night." And he's like, "Really? How's that?" She said, "Well, I left work. I was on a conference call. The sun had gone down. I'm driving down the interstate. The dashboard goes off. I'm out of fuel. Pull off the interstate, pull up to a gas station, get out of the car, still on the conference call. And there's three bad guys that have taken an interest in her. And she realizes she stopped in the wrong part of town. So what does she do? She starts screaming into the phone, 'You better turn my credit card on right away. I paid this off last month. I've got no cash. My car's out of gas and the dang credit card doesn't work.'" Three guys turned around and walked away because car was out of gas. Credit card doesn't work. She got no cash on her. She completely devalued herself. Brilliant. And then the next one is to, when it comes right down to it, defending yourself. Tony's, maybe like 5'8", 200 pounds. He's in good shape, but, he's like the rest of us, not getting any younger. He's in LA. Car rear ends him while he's at a red light, pushes his car into the car in front. Tony gets out of his car. Three guys get out of the car in front of him, two on the passenger side and the driver on his side. And the guy looks and sees that his bumper's all messed up from Tony's car being pushed into him. But he looks at Tony and he says, "I'm going to kick your ass," trying to, make it out like it was 100% Tony's fault. And he's walking towards Tony. Now, keep in mind, Tony has multiple black belts at multiple different levels. He interrupted the guy's OODA loop by saying, whoa, time out. There's three reasons I can't fight you. The guy actually stopped to listen to what Tony was going to say next. He sucker punched him and knocked him out cold, and the other two guys ran away. So, you know, if you look up Tony Blauer, he's been on Survival Dispatch News many times. He's a personal friend of mine. He teaches the stuff that happens in the seconds before sudden violence that nobody else talks about or teaches. He coined the phrase weaponize the flinch in the 1990s. You know, if something comes flying at you, you don't have to sit there and think, oh, I should probably put my hands up. You know, something comes at you, you automatically flinch, right? So how do you recognize, okay, you're defending yourself, you've got the startle flinch, how quickly can you turn that around to go on the offensive? And he's taught people this stuff for many, many years, and really interesting from a situational awareness and a self-defense perspective. But that's it. Appreciate all y'all's time. What an incredible 24 hours it's been. I think we'll all be smiling for a long, long time after this. And I look forward to having you guys back in the future. For everybody else out there, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. God bless America.
God
Thanks
bless
for
you,
the invite.
guys.
Nice meeting you.
If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members. Unlimited defense budgets, unmatched legal expertise. Carry the same level of support police officers have. Carry CCW Safe, the highest caliber.